So, uh, this is the last class of my side control escape semester. I'm blind. The way I like to end my semester is we try to open the floor up, so if anybody has any specific issues relating to the scenario we've worked on, in this instance, underneath the side control, it's a chance if you guys want to troubleshoot some stuff. There's like a specific problem you're running into, a specific submission you're getting caught in, you're using an escape and it keeps stopping at this, this place or whatever. If there's anything you guys want to work on, then this is a chance to do that. Is there any sort of specific side control issues you want to work with?
Yeah, it's more of like a fundamental question.
Yeah.
I always get stuck hip escaping.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm expending a lot of energy, but
Sure.
a lot of times I can't escape. So
Okay, so let's kind of break the like some of the ideas of the hip escape down. Now let me ask you a question. Do you feel like, so let me get you underneath me, Mike? And just kind of get you wherever you, like your best sort of framing position that you feel comfortable with is, up here, And then when you start hip escaping, so go ahead and start moving, do you feel like it's knee that's tracking you?
no, I think it's more of a for me it's more of a bump and strip issue.
Okay.
Like I don't think I'm doing it efficiently or
Okay.
something like that.
Okay, so let's talk about that, right? So here's kind of my thought on it. I think that a lot of times, the way that we, in jujitsu, teach the hip escape is problematic because we teach the shrimp as this singular move, right? So we teach we go down the line, we do this, right? Right? And, that's not really how I think effective hip escaping tends to work, honestly. And against good people, it's absolutely. So the first thing I would address is that I think, I think that what makes a little bit more sense is thinking about getting on your side first and not worrying about, let me break that down even further. Think about the hierarchy of goals. So the first goal is establish some frames, right? The second goal is get on your side. The third goal is put your shoulder in a strong position for being able to maintain that, that alignment. And then your fourth goal is actually the hip escape, right? So these are important details because, first off, let me grab you. Obviously, and this is pretty basic, if we don't have these effective frames, it's going to be hard to get a recovery, right? Like we can shrimp, even if he stays here and does nothing, I can technically shrimp, but it's like if I can't create space between my upper body and his upper body, then I'm basically just wheeling my hips away from him. Every time I try to reconnect, I'm going to go right into his hip. So I need to get framed. Now, some people frame on the hip and work from that sort of scenario, so this would be, so it would be like collar and hip. I don't really like collar and hip as much as collar and elbow. And think of it just like if you ever, I'm sure you guys work on takedowns. When you're doing like wrestling, you always want the inside track. Same thing is going to be for escapes. I want the inside track. So this is my frame position. Another thing is, so we have our frames. The next thing I want to do is I want to get on my side because if I try to do everything all at once, as I try to escape, so Jim, I just want you to kind of don't let me go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm trying to go. Like I feel like a lot of people get stuck in this fight. It's really common. It's like I'm trying to get away, they kind of just sort of hip ride. Or what will happen is I want you to track like a half second later than me, Jeff. So as I'm going away, and then follow right. And so I kind of get space, but then they follow.
Right.
Yeah. And then a lot of times too, as you notice, he started going up, so then my frame started getting collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to basically think about is I want to establish incremental victories that he can't supersede. I.e., it doesn't make any difference, and it's going to use a lot of energy if I keep getting positional victories that he then beats, right? Like if I get everything, boom, and then he immediately puts me back down, well then all that work I just did is for nothing.
Right.
But if I can just do, let's say, that, it's like push me back down, Jim. It's like as long as I just stay, as my hip is turned over, like it's going to be pretty hard for him to not, like to actually flip my hips back over, just by doing that, right? The next thing I wanna aim to do is I wanna get this shoulder behind me. Because once I get this shoulder behind me, drive into me, Jim, it's gonna be hard for him to actually get it out from underneath me.
Right.
One way to think of this too is, is, so right now, this is us underneath the side control, right? So here's our opponent. Sorry. Underneath the side control, here's our opponent. When we start to hip escape a lot, we bridge into them, and then we try to go here, and this is what happens, right?
Yeah.
If you think of like, this is your bottom shoulder, that's your top shoulder, what you do is you align yourself like a ramp, facing away from your opponent. Obviously, if this doesn't have a frame underneath of it, the easiest thing to do is just push that top one back down. What we want to do with our shoulder is put it behind us. So now that ramp is reversed. So imagine you were trying to push into the ramp this way.
Right.
Now the actual, like your body alignment is working for you rather than against you. Once we have that, honestly, the hip escape becomes really simple because all it is at that point is creating that space we need to get our legs back inside, right? So with all of that, again, have my frames in. Oh, and another thing too, I'll go into this in a second, but keep this knee glued. Like this thing stays attached. You'll just sort of, sometimes you'll just poke it in there, like we're tussling, he's trying to get head control again, whatever. I just kind of like get it in. If I keep it attached, a lot of people expel a lot of energy, just like they're here, they do the strip, and then they're kind of trying to like punch that knee to the inside. So anyway, have my knee glued, foot goes wide, I just rotate my hip. So I'm not using all that stripping energy yet. I'm just, it's not even, notice like very little bridge. Just kind of pick my hips up a little and rotate it. So even if he's, don't have to put like a lot of, like put all your weight and pressure on me. Even if he's putting as much weight and pressure as he can, I can usually get that. And then I can start to work away. And once I get this, I mean at this point, it's,
Right, a lot of room.
yeah, a lot of room to strip. And also, it's like I'm not trying to like slide my butt out from underneath the knee and behind me. I've already got it on my side, so all I'm doing is just like putting my butt into that open space.
Right.
So all of that was, that's a lot of information, but basically speaking, to me, the key to efficient hip escaping is getting on your side, getting your shoulder tucked behind you. So just worrying about winning that fight. And then from there, it's just strips.
Right.
And that's the little, I call it sidewinders because it looks like those snakes that, it's basically just that movement. Just keep stripping your hips away. Once you make yourself that sort of, that ramp, it's going to be very hard for them to flatten you back out. The only other thing I'll add, because of course with that more information, is one of the big sort of premises that I think is really important for escaping bad positions is being ready to transition to a different escape, right? And the reason for this is the path that your opponent has to cross to stop you from escaping is generally speaking a shorter path than the path you have to cross to escape, right? If you think of it like, you know, we talked about all this like, okay, well, everything I just laid out I had to do, right? Okay, I gotta get my frames, I gotta get my hip turned over, I gotta get my shoulder turned over. Now I have, okay, some decent alignment. Now I'm gonna hip escape. Now they might drive into me, so I gotta keep hip escaping, and then my knee punches in, and I'll make sure you keep that knee glued and that foot's wide and all this stuff. And his answer is, I'm gonna drive forward. I'm just gonna literally just press forward, right? So the path that he has to cross to beat my escape is shorter than the path that I have to cross to make that escape happen. So, with that being said, the question to ask there is then like, how do I accommodate for that? And the answer is, I have to be ready to transition to a different escape if the situation changes. He can change the situation faster than I, generally speaking, if he knows what I'm doing and knows that this fight's gonna be a losing battle for him, his window to transition is a faster window than my escape. That makes sense. That's like a pretty brainy sort of concept, but like, that makes sense. Did I say that in a way that was in, you know, effective English? Like, so a good example is one of the common escapes for counters when we're underneath the side control. I'm here, and as I'm stripping, he's gonna sit through to Casey Tommy, right? Like I start moving, and he sits through.
Right.
Right. It's faster for him to do that than it is for me to escape. So say we go back. So this is where the knee comes in. Like if I'm here and as I'm going and he's going, go ahead and just whenever you're ready, Jim. And punching back. So my transitions have to be efficient and I have to be aware of what's going on. Yeah, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah. So if you guys want to play around with that just for a few minutes, just so that, does that sort of answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. So play around with those two things. Number one is, I'll do this invisible opponent. You're underneath side control. Well, just say you have your frames in. Getting frames can be you know, that's a whole thing unto itself. I personally like the strip, but some people have different ways they go there. But imagine you have your frames. Outside foot goes wide, inside knee stays glued. Then I'm gonna rotate my hip first, and then I'm gonna throw my shoulder behind myself. And I want to kind of, almost like I want my top shoulder closer to them than my bottom. From there, do your hip escape. And just kind of work out, maybe when you guys like, play around with it, sort of play around with the top and just pressuring in you and feel the difference of like integrity that your alignment has here. The transition to that, if they say, we'll just do the case of the comedy one, this is a good example because it's a high percentage one. Let me get you on top of me, please. Is I'm here, and so once I'm starting to move. As he sits through, I'm transferring. So it's literally just like I had one hand like here, the other one just punches right to the inside of the elbow,
Right.
and he's already going in that direction. So as he's sitting through, I'm just sitting up. When I take him back, that's a really strong counter. Like we had Keith Owen came in at this seminar, and if you want to talk, if Keith Owen came into the seminar and taught that a few years back, and like.
Okay.
I was hitting that on everyone, like, for months and months, like, it's a really strong transition.
Right, because you have the knee connected.
Exactly, so here, actually, can you try to do that while we got a second? Because, when it, yeah, you go ahead, dude. So when you have your frames, right, go ahead and get your frames in, and you start hip escaping, right? So do everything that we just kind of laid out, is, if you keep this knee glued to my hip, as I sit through, you're gonna feel my hip rotate. So then your left arm punches right to my elbow and just kind of, yeah,
Very natural.
yeah, it's just it. So play around with some of those concepts for a few minutes and we'll go on from there. Let's get to it. 1, 2, 3.